Hello. As we have entered Advent in this most unsettling year, our thoughts begin to turn to Christmas and, of course, the birth of Jesus. We know that December is such an important time in the life of the church as we celebrate the good news of great joy that the baby in a manger brings. This year, of course, our celebrations and traditions will be disrupted. That is simply unavoidable. On behalf of Loraine, Kate and myself, we know as a district team that our wonderful Methodist people will face difficult questions as to how to celebrate the birth of Jesus this year. We offer the following thoughts, not as a final word, but to help our people in the midst of these challenges. Firstly, our advice remains that churches within Tier 3 should not open. Although it is permitted, we believe that we should stand in solidarity, especially at Christmas, with the many dedicated frontline workers who continue to carry an enormous load on behalf of us all. Not opening our churches when we know there is pressure on our local services and especially on our local hospitals is the most responsible action we can take. And by so doing, we can save lives. Now, of course, the decision rests with managing trustees. And if you do choose to open in these circumstances, please consider that you will not be able to sing carols. You will need to wear a mask and, of course, to continue to socially distance before, during and after worship. And you will need to revisit your risk assessments. If any of our areas in the district eventually fall below Tier 3, the questions we would ask people to consider are different. As people will know, the government is suggesting that up to 3 households can gather for up to 5 days so that people can celebrate Christmas with their families. It is recognised that this temporary loosening of restrictions is a risk, and so people are being asked to be especially careful and responsible beforehand. There is therefore an argument that says that if people want to celebrate Christmas with their families, we should discourage them from gathering together in our church buildings during Advent. For that may be the most responsible thing we can do. However, we do recognise that for some people, Christmas can be a time of isolation. There will be people who will not have a 5-day family Christmas to protect, to look forward to. In such circumstances, perhaps enabling space for people to sit and to pray, to reflect on Jesus being present in our world and in their lives could be hugely important. In these circumstances, could you open your church for private prayer? Now, we offer these thoughts for the local trustees who know the circumstances in each context to consider prayerfully and carefully. In all of this, we wonder if a simpler, more muted Christmas, even with our church buildings closed, might afford us an opportunity to remember the arrival of Jesus, the reality of the incarnation, in a different way, in a manner in keeping with the nativity stories themselves. In Luke's Gospel in particular, we read of how Jesus entered the world in humble circumstances to terrified parents in social isolation away from home. And the first visitors were the marginalised shepherds who came without fanfare, but who went away and told others of all they had seen and heard. Beyond all of our traditions and services, it is the love, the joy and hope of that first Christmas that we can always share, even in an ongoing pandemic. And many of our churches are finding very innovative ways of celebrating this season with ecumenical friends, in drive-through carol services in supermarket or church car parks, in carols on the doorstep where you can share with your neighbours and perhaps with the local radio station. Christmas bags full of craft and liturgies to share, and of course the many and varied online and telephone worship services that we're beginning to be so good at and familiar with during these trying times. This is a year we won't soon forget, but let's find innovative ways to bless our communities, our friends and our families by being the church in the world, making real once again the love of Christ. However you choose to celebrate, may the joy of the angels, the eagerness of the shepherds, the perseverance of the wise men, the obedience of Mary and Joseph, and the peace of the Christ child be yours this Christmas and forevermore. Amen.